When you hear this here, within seconds, you can already picture Simba and all the magic of Disney, right? But it took Mickey decades to acknowledge that this melody came from the improvisation and genius of a man who died in poverty. Back in the 1990s, at the height of The Lion King, just one of the film's songs generated over $15 million in royalties. Then, in 2019, the live-action remake grossed more than $1.6 billion at the box office. And a big part of that success comes from the original soundtrack, which taps into a powerful sense of nostalgia. But behind this global phenomenon lies a much darker story, one shaped by exploitation and cultural erasure. At the center of it is Solomon Linda, a South African singer who created the original melody called Mbube. While his work generated massive profits for record labels and Hollywood studios, he died with almost nothing, buried in an unmarked grave in a poor suburb of Johannesburg. What happened was simple. They took an original Zulu composition, changed the lyrics, renamed it, and sold it to the world as if it were public domain or anonymous folklore. In practice, they turned an original work into a billion-dollar asset, leaving its creator and his family in poverty. The dispute went so far that even characters like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck were effectively kidnapped in South Africa to force a legal settlement. Solomon Popoli Linda was born in 1909 in Masinga, in the heart of Zulu territory in South Africa, a place rich in tradition. He grew up herding cattle and listening to ceremonial singing in his community, which deeply shaped his musical ear. In the 1930s, as gold mines attracted people searching for better opportunities, Solomon became one of those migrants. During the day, he worked as a laborer and shop assistant. At night, he became an artist, singing in a vocal group called the Evening Birds. His turning point came in 1939, when he got a job at the Gallo Record Company, the largest record label in Africa at the time. That's where he got the chance to record for the first time. With no sheet music, just instinct, the group entered the studio. The song was called Mbube, which means lion in Zulu. After 2 takes, on the third and final attempt, Solomon improvised a striking falsetto. That soared above the other voices. The label immediately recognized its potential. The track became a local hit, selling over 100,000 copies over time, and even helping give rise to a new musical style. Despite that success, Solomon sold the recording rights for just 10 shillings, the equivalent of $2 today. Illiterate and unaware of the consequences, he had no idea what that contract meant for his future. For him, it was immediate money to survive. For the label, it was an incredible deal. Full control of a valuable work for almost nothing.
The song spread across South Africa and, in the 1950s, caught the attention of American folklorist Alan Lomax, who found a recording and shared it with Pete Seeger of the Weavers. Captivated by the sound, but unfamiliar with the language, Pete tried to transcribe what he heard, turning Mbube into Wimoweh. In 1951, the Weavers released an American version that became a major success. However, Solomon Linda's name was nowhere to be found on the record. Instead, it was credited to Paul Campbell, a pseudonym used to register songs as traditional or of unknown origin, a convenient way to keep the profits. Meanwhile, the real creator was still alive, struggling financially, while the money flowed into the American music industry. The final transformation came in 1961, when the Tokens recorded their version. Producer George David Weiss added English lyrics, creating the now famous line about the lion sleeping in the jungle. This version, titled "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," became a global classic, once again without crediting Solomon. As the song conquered the world, Solomon's life remained marked by hardship. In 1959, he even collapsed on stage due to kidney problems. 3 years later, in 1962, he died with just $22 in his bank account, leaving behind a wife and 4 daughters living in extremely difficult conditions. Even after his death, the exploitation continued. In 1983, his widow was persuaded to sign away rights for just $1. In the 1990s, his daughter signed similar agreements, unaware of the true value of their father's work.
Between 1991 and 2000, when The Lion King became a global phenomenon, the song generated over $15 million. Solomon's family, however, received less than $17,000 in total through sporadic and poorly managed payments. Things began to change in 2000 when South African journalist Rian Malan published an article titled "In the Jungle," exposing the abuse and exploitation behind the story. The report caught the attention of intellectual property lawyer Owen Dean. He identified a clause in a 1911 British law stating that the rights to a work should revert to the author's family 25 years after their death, even if they had been sold. Since Solomon died in 1962, those rights should have returned in 1987. That meant many later contracts, including those involving Disney, were legally questionable. To force negotiations, the lawyer obtained a court order to seize more than 240 Disney trademarks in South Africa. Without a settlement, if Disney did not pay what it owed to Solomon's family, it could lose the rights to the Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck characters throughout South Africa. In 2006, Disney reached a confidential agreement with the family. The amount was never disclosed, but Solomon's daughters were finally able to improve their living conditions. And most importantly, he was officially recognized as a co-author of the song.
Justice came late, but it came. Even so, the system that allowed this to happen still exists, and similar stories continue to unfold. Much of global culture has been built on contributions that were erased over time. Recognizing Solomon Linda as a co-author of The Lion Sleeps Tonight corrects a historical injustice, but it doesn't undo what he and his family endured. For decades, while the world sang along to the music, they faced poverty, illness, and neglect. In theory, copyright law is meant to protect artists. In practice, it has often been used to protect corporations, while excluding the very people who created the work, especially those without legal knowledge or representation. There's also a tendency to believe that popular songs simply come from nowhere, as if they've always existed. Rarely do people stop to ask who actually created them. Behind every famous melody, there's a story, and sometimes that story involves invisibility. In Solomon's case, that falsetto wasn't just a sound, it was a symbol of strength and cultural identity for his people. They tried to turn his work into anonymous folklore, but it endured, crossing time, cultures, and borders. And now, at least, his name has been restored to its rightful place.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more historical facts. See you next time. Keep exploring and stay curious.